In today's video, we're going to look at respect in a relationship, and specifically one of the biggest misunderstandings about respect. So we're going to talk about how to build a more respectful and also a more loving relationship, whilst also avoiding the ways that abusive partners might weaponize a desire for respect in your relationship. Before I get into that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to make sure that you get all of the best advice and the tips that I can give you to help you have a happy, healthy relationship. So let's start by talking about the one thing that everyone seems to get wrong about respect. When we say the word respect, we tend to assume that everyone means the same thing. Now, the problem with respect as an idea is that there are actually two very different types of respect. There's one version of respect where we mean that we treat someone as an actual person. We respect their identity. We respect their existence as a human being rather than objectifying them or dismissing their thoughts, their feelings, and their experiences. We recognize them as a person whose feelings and needs and beliefs are just as important as our own. Now, that is absolutely, without doubt, an important meaning of the word respect, being respected as a person. But it's not the only meaning of the word that people use. Sometimes, when we talk about someone deserving respect, we mean that we're accepting that that person has some form of authority. If we're in court, we might respect the judge because they have power and status, and they can lock us up if they don't feel we're giving them enough respect. They have authority. We respect someone with a PhD when they're talking about their subject because they're an authority on it. In many families, we're taught to respect our parents because they have authority. So we're equating respect with a certain degree of deference. Now, this isn't a bad thing. We should respect the opinion of experts over the opinions of people who haven't thought about a topic. Teachers need respect to create a great learning environment in a classroom. If they don't have it, we get chaos, no one learns anything. Now, the problem with these two kinds of respect comes when people use both of them in the same sentence or at the same time, without acknowledging that they're talking about two really different things. Now, there are loads of people out there who will say to you, I'll respect you if you respect me. And what they mean is, I'll respect you and your identity as a person if you treat me with the respect that I think I'm due as an authority. Obviously, they're treating the two types of respect as equal and opposite, while clearly demanding more from the other person than they're offering to give in exchange. And they're not acknowledging it. Now, here's where this comes into relationships. Because the chances are that someone you're dating isn't going to use the phrase, I'll respect you if you respect me. If they do, that's one hell of a red flag. Anyone that pompous and with that big of a stick stuck in their rear end needs a serious rethink about how they treat and speak to the people that they love. But anyway, when it comes to relationships, you're more likely to find someone demanding respect as an authority with the kind of entitlement that belongs to someone asking to be respected as a person. When you're in a relationship with someone who is abusive or has controlling tendencies, they're often really keen to talk about respect. They will demand that they should be treated with respect. And they will have a really long list of things that they describe as disrespectful. Incidentally, they probably won't tell you what's on that list until you violate one of those things, and then they can use it as a stick to beat you with. Now, when these guys or women feel disrespected, they will need a huge amount of groveling in order to even think about forgiving you and overlooking your disrespect. And honestly, they'll probably keep holding it over you for ages afterwards. It's a really, really, really horrible thing to do to someone. They will use their need for respect and their sense of entitlement to it as an excuse for abuse or control. They'll guilt trip you, they'll do whatever it takes. Now, they might tell you, for example, on their long list of disrespectful things, that it's disrespectful of you to spend time with your male friends. Now let's look at that through the lens of the two types of respect that I just described. Why would it be disrespectful of them for you to spend time with other men? How is that disrespecting them? Is it disrespectful of them as a person? Is it somehow objectifying them or treating them as less than a full person or treating them as though they don't matter? Of course it isn't. It's only disrespecting their claim to be an authority, specifically their claim to be the authority to make decisions about what you can and can't do. Now that sounds an awful lot like their idea of the respect that they deserve as an authority requires that they disrespect you as a person, because you ought to be able to make your own decisions. Now, once you come to understand that, and hopefully that example has helped, it's much easier to see just how abusive this kind of conversation about disrespect actually is. It's not healthy. It's not kind, and it's not about building a relationship. So what would disrespect in a relationship or a friendship look like with our understanding of these different types of respect? Well, both kinds of respect can be flipped. You can show disrespect in either of the two types of respect that we're talking about. So let's talk about the slightly less serious type of disrespect in a relationship. And this is when one of you refuses to accept the other one's genuine earned authority. Now, many and possibly most aspects of a relationship should be balanced. They should be some degree of give and take. Decisions should usually be based on mutual agreement and compromise rather than one person using their authority to make unilateral decisions. But there are still things that each of you will be an expert or an authority on. For example, I have loads of friends who have PhDs in biochemistry. I don't know why, I just seem to hang with the biochemists. They do know how to party, and that's great. They have all the authority when we're talking about biochemistry, which isn't often, in fairness. But it would be deeply disrespectful if I ignored their opinions about protein structures or the binding sites of medicines and thought that they should take my views equally seriously. That would be really disrespectful of their efforts. Now, if your partner disrespects your experience or your areas of expertise, they're disrespecting you as an authority, and that's not okay. They're belittling you and they're not taking you seriously, and that is genuinely disrespectful. And it is if you do that to them too. But let's think about the more worrying kind of disrespect in a relationship. What does it look like if they don't respect you as a person? And this one's a lot more painful, I think, because they have no interest whatsoever in listening to anything that you have to say. What you have to say is simply not going to be a part of their decision making or any aspect of their thought process. So you start to feel as if you're not a person who is engaged in the world or who they take seriously. You're a pretty little ornament left on a desk waiting for someone to look at you. That's not respecting you as a person, it's treating you as an object. So another thing is that they might not see you as an equal partner. So if they're not respecting you as a person, anytime that there's a conflict, anytime there's a disagreement, anytime that you two need to work together and compromise or work out a solution that fits both of you, they're just going to go, nope, we're doing it my way. You're not equal, I'm me, and therefore we're going to do this. Now, they probably won't say that in those words, because then you'd go, okay, see ya. They're more subtle than that. But if their position could be summarized as, yes, but I want, or I've said it's this way, therefore it's this way, yep, they are disrespecting you as a person. And it's okay to think of it that way. So when they give their arguments as to why everything needs to be done their way, ask yourself whether there is anything of substance there, or whether it's just, it's me and I want it. And once you can identify that, it's a really useful way to spot disrespect quite early in a relationship. They might also think that it's okay for them to set limits on your behavior. Now, we've already talked about the fact that they might have a problem with you hanging out with your male friends, and that is disrespecting you as a person, because whether you hang out with your male friends or not is actually none of their business. That is a decision about you and your behavior and what you think is okay. If they say, no, you can't do that, the question is how? Why? Under what circumstances are you claiming to have control over my actions? It's the same thing if they try to control what you wear or what you say or what job you do. These are all things that belong to you. What they're avoiding saying with their words and are saying with their actions is, you are not a person to me. I am the person, and you are going to just obey. You are a thing. You are an object. They might still love you. I love my dog. He still doesn't decide when we go for a walk. And if they're treating you in that same way, it is disrespectful. So, having looked at what respect and disrespect look like in a relationship, let's think a little bit about what you can do when you realize that someone isn't treating you with the kind of respect that you deserve or that you want. Now, one of the problems here is that people who weaponize the idea of respect aren't actually operating in good faith. They might not really know exactly what they're doing and that they're using the word respect to mean two different things, though I'd bet a month's salary that most of them do. But they're still not starting from the perspective that you are someone who deserves the basic level of respect due to anyone as a person. They're not giving that to you, and therefore they are starting from bad faith. They're not starting from a position where they actively want to respect you, and they're not ready to listen to you and examine their own thoughts and their own feelings. For almost all of them, they're not ready to move significantly towards a place where they treat you with more respect. And they're probably not keen on listening to what you have to say about it. Now, in most cases where there's a lack of fundamental respect in a relationship, honestly, the most sensible move is to walk away. The fight for respect can be pretty brutal, and it can be really bad for your self-esteem. Constantly having to fight to be seen as important, to be seen as a person, is just horribly unsettling. And it feels as though you're at war and you can't let your guard down for a moment. Mostly because you really can't. Of course, being in a relationship and being in love isn't sensible. Even when your head knows that you should walk away because you're not being treated with respect, your heart can prompt you to stay. That's okay, I'm not judging. But what are your options then? Well, I referred a moment ago to there being a fight for respect, and I am not kidding. You will need to stand your ground and not accept a single piece of disrespect. You will need to call it out each and every time you see it, every time your partner speaks over you, every time they dismiss your opinions or belittle you, every time they make you feel worthless or stupid. You will need to describe what they're doing and stand your ground. Now, this means generally you will have argument after argument after argument, and it is going to suck. You are going to have to show your partner that respect is not optional, and that treating you with anything less than respect is bluntly just far more effort than they're willing to make. Now, you can expect to have them attack your character. They'll tell you you're a bitch. They'll tell you that you're stubborn. They'll tell you that you don't know how to compromise and you don't care about them and you're cruel and selfish. I did mention this is going to hit your self-esteem, right? I'm sorry. Bear in mind that this isn't about being aggressive or treating them badly. This is about standing your ground. You're being unmovable, but you're still modeling to them how you can actually show respect in a relationship. Now, if you're going to go down this route, firstly, good luck. This is a tough path to take, and I have so much respect for you for being willing to try. especially now that you know what you're getting yourself into. The biggest thing I think you can do for yourself under these circumstances is to find a great therapist to work with you. You are going to need a strong support network and ideally great professional advice to help you work through some of the issues that this is going to bring up for you. Working with a professional gives you a degree of reassurance that your friends simply can't have, because there's a really big difference between saying, my friend said that you need to stop doing this, or my friend said that I need to have boundaries around this, versus, I'm sorry, my therapist has pointed out to me that this should be a boundary and that I need to be better about enforcing my boundaries. So I'm afraid I'm not moving on this. You can see how working with a professional gives you a sense of support and a sense of reassurance and validation that might be stronger than you would normally get from a friend. Okay, well, that's our video on the thing that most people don't understand about respect. What do you think? Had you ever thought about respect in that way before? I think it's a really, really useful tool and a really interesting way to think about the world. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.